In fact, if we look at the legs, we have to really specify two different properties there. So a tube-like property, so which is a long bone inserted, right? And then it's a tube, cylinder, tube, whichever way you put it. And then you've got the ball-like property, which would be the joint capsule, insertion, and so on. That's actually the joint, right? And then again, you've got the tube, and so it goes. And then what we are doing with the wrappings, right? So you see with the wrappings, we're mainly accentuating these transitions between the, well, trying to kind of get both, right? What we can do as the next level, we can kind of divide them and maximize, because what we are now suggesting and what we're already working very well for the joints, for this ball-like spherical connections, is what we started to call the vibro stations, into the knee and into the ankle in particular. Of course, it can also be done at the elbow and at the wrist, but it's a bit kind of trickier because the ball is relatively heavy. But for the knees and for the ankles, it works really, really well. But that's kind of a faster dynamics, like the high frequency dynamics. But then on the other side of the spectrum is the slower dynamics, respiration related dynamics, which is kind of a general expansion compaction along the axis. So that's where the machine part kicks in. So the machine application goes more towards the slower rhythms related to the respiration and does more with the tubes, whilst the vibrostations, they relate to the joints and the faster, the high hertz oscillations, so which are the ones related for the joint. So, and ideally, this is a kind of mix that we want to do and sort of self-potentiate one another. But the machine could work like long term. You can do one leg at a time. It's important to understand that even if you do a 2-3 hour chunk at once, and all before you need to change and then you remove it, you're really accumulating good hours in the homeschooling dimension. So this is also very positive, because then you can just kind of integrate the bladder into the wrap and then they remove the machine when necessary and then replug it. And then if you're doing, say, a concentrated 45-minute lessons, you can't do full-scale ABR at the same time, but you can do it in the background. And of course, that's also integratable into the sessions, especially if we talk about the focus on the thigh, right? So you see, in that sense, machine usage as the thigh is really a preferred, like, and the easiest option, because it gives you an entry into two most kind of essential transitions and gives you an entry into the hip as the transition between the pelvis and the legs, and then within the legs it gives you the transition at the knee, which is a kind of narrow spot as the potentially underdeveloped.